Oh, what do you know? It's a live stream.
Is it now?
It is. It's a super live stream. The Super January live stream. It's like Super Mario Brothers, but live
I
stream
just get a
form.
notification that there's a live stream going on.
And you may have two, whoever else is out there watching. Welcome to the live stream. Let me know if the volume is actually okay. If it isn't, we can turn it up here. If it is too loud, let me know that as well. So,
So, what's your favorite Valentine's gift?
my favorite Valentine's gift is the gift of air and water and, and shelter. Those are my favorite Valentine's Day gifts.
Interesting choices. Brian and I were talking about this earlier, and I said my favorite Valentine's gift is creepy, cute stuff. Like I've been getting all these ads for like these Mothman Valentines, and like I didn't buy them, but I was so tempted because I love Mothman.
Yes, Amber loves her creepy things.
I do, I do.
She loves them a lot. All right, folks. Well, let's get into it. We got a lot of stories to cover. We got a lot of ground to cover. So, I hope you're ready for these stories. Ready in Vegas. Everybody sounds great. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Welcome, Mary. Welcome to the live stream.
Yes, welcome.
I wanted to flip over to this. All right. Well, I hope you're ready to have your blood pressure going because this first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Forgiving My Mom After She... Oh, wait, this isn't the right story, is it?
No, we thought we had the.
Oops. I think I actually pulled up the wrong thing here. One second. I need to find the correct set of stories. Where are these? Oh my goodness. I'm disorganized here, apparently.
Luckily, there's just two of us. Me and Mary are the only ones judging you right now.
Yes, this has to be it. Ah, yes. Different set of stories. There. Yes, oops, let me minimize this window so I can actually see everything that's going on now. Yes, our actual first story that will get your blood pressure up is titled, Am I a Jerk for Suing My Neighbor for Fence Repair Costs? I recently sold my house and I moved from the Bay Area to a suburb in Reno where I bought a house in disrepair located in an old neighborhood with lots of potential and no HOA. One of the issues was the fence that separated my yard from one of my side neighbors. Before I bought the property, I introduced myself to both of my neighbors and I made my intentions clear that I was going to fix up the property, which was met with a positive reaction by both neighbors. I closed on the property and immediately contacted the neighbor who shared the fence about repairing it, and suddenly she was not so responsible for half of it at all. To be clear, the current pickets that are standing there face her house. So one would think that it would be her responsibility in the first place. Anyways, I was asking about hiring a fencing company, and suddenly she played the poor little old lady card like she was on disability and had no funding to fix the fence. She also has this little schnauzer dog that can run up to the fence, and the only thing that is separating the line is separating the dog from my property is this little hardware cloth wire fence. So obviously her dog is posing a blighted view from my property on top of the fence at this point. Well, I started getting some estimates, and one contractor offered to rebuild the current picket fence style with the pickets on my side for $1,800, but offered to install a steel/wood hybrid privacy fence with steel posts and support beams for $7,500. I figured a one and done solution would be appropriate because this area is pretty windy, and the last thing that I want to have to do is come after my neighbor again for some repair costs. So I had the contractor build a steel fence for $7,500 and paid the contractor cash out of my pocket. Well, I gave my neighbor the bill, and she said that I gave my neighbor the bill, and I was said that I was expecting $3,750 for her share of the cost of the fence. She gave me a sob story again, and I eventually said that I would be happy to discount it and take payments of $500 a month for 6 months, which can certainly be done with a Social Security check, but she was not willing to work with me. I sued her in small claims court for $3,750, and she stopped me in the driveway after she was served and started getting really aggressive and pathetic about the lawsuit. And I kept trying to calm her down, and I told her to relax and file her response. And then, surprise, surprise, suddenly she would pay $1,000 if I dismissed the lawsuit. I told her to write me a check, which she did, and as I was holding the check, I asked when she would be able to pay the rest, and she said that she wouldn't be able to pay more. That amount was not enough, so I told her to file her response and that I would see her in court and gave her the check back. She never filed her response though. I got a default judgment, and thankfully I saw her return the check that she had banked through Wells Fargo. So I was able to put a lien on her bank account for the full $3,750. So she was clearly lying to me about not having the money, and I feel vindicated. All right, folks, what do you think?
Oh my goodness, yes, OP, you are a jerk. Like, if you were expecting your neighbor to pay for part of the fence, you both needed to come to an agreement about that. You can't just stick her with this cost, like get the most expensive fence and be like, oh, well, now you're responsible for half of this thing that I chose for us because it benefits me. And also being like, well, there was the money in her bank account. How do you know she didn't need that money for something? Like,
Yeah.
what if that's basically her entire bank account right there?
Yeah.
Like, if she is living on Social Security or Social Security disability or something like that, that's not an awful lot of money. So, I mean, I think the OP handled things really poorly and was 100% a jerk in this case.
Well, that's my feeling too. And also, like, when he had her make out the check and he accepted the check, I feel that that was a verbal contract right there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that he gave it back or not, right? He took the check. That's the exchange there, right?
I'm wondering if he all along was trying to get her bank info from the check.
Oh, that's an interesting question here. I don't know. I mean, it feels pretty manipulative. Like,
It does.
I don't know what his goal was there, but it's pretty odd that he would accept the check and then just give it back like that. But I still feel like it was a verbal contract at that point. And then if OP's neighbor actually went to the judge, then they would be able to basically fight him on that.
Well, I'm wondering if too, if there's some reason why he knows why she couldn't file a response, like if she has trouble like reading, or if there's some reason why she wouldn't be able to do this and was using that against her and didn't do that in the story.
Yeah, like she doesn't have transportation.
Right.
Maybe she's afraid of the court system for one reason or another. Maybe there's probably a lot of other reasons, right? But I don't actually think that if she had been able to contest this, that she would have been charged for the fence.
Right. I would hope that they wouldn't charge her for it, especially because she did it without his knowledge. He did it without her knowledge.
Yeah, and this was also, I would consider, destruction of property.
Right, because her fence had to be torn down for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it's ambiguous whose fence was whose, but it does say in the comments it was partly on her property, partly on his. So, potentially there was the destruction of property aspect as well.
Yeah, and I see Mary's comment here that OP doesn't make good neighbors, and I agree with you there.
Yeah.
OP is not a very good neighbor at all. Yeah, Mary says also, yeah, I took the check.
Exchange seemed to indicate full payment, and OP looks like they're one instigating a bait and switch.
Yeah, I mean, this does feel an awful lot like a bait and switch here. I mean, I think that, again, this seems pretty awful all in all, right? I don't like OP, and I think that they are not a great neighbor, and they are a bad person. I'm just going to say they're a bad person all in all. Speaking of bad people, am I the jerk for buying my girlfriend a scratching post for her birthday? Maybe not quite as bad as the last story. For some context, my girlfriend and I have been dating for about 6 years. We were friends and co-workers for 10 years before we got together. We now own a home together with 2 cats, she brought into the relationship. We don't plan on having children, so these cats are effectively our babies. The relationship is great, we communicate very well together, and are genuinely very happy. My girlfriend's birthday is in a few weeks, and this morning I asked her what she would like for her birthday. I'm notoriously not great at picking out gifts on my own, so she usually sends me a link a few times that she seems interested in. Sends me links to a few items that she's interested in. And I buy one of them for her. This has worked out for us as I don't have to fret about what to get her, and she gets exactly what she wants. She asked me this morning to think about what I would like to buy her, as she doesn't want to always pick out the gifts for herself, and she would like to be surprised with a gift for once. And I reiterate that I'm not great at picking out gifts, and she replied, yeah, like that time you bought me a gift for the cats for my birthday. For further context, for the first birthday that we celebrated together, we had been dating for about 4 months, so the relationship was still very new. She had a small cat tower in her apartment that her cats had broken, and the tower had been laying on the side in her apartment for a little while. I asked her why she hadn't thrown it out yet, and she said that the cats were still using it as a scratching post, so she would leave it until she got around to replacing it. With her birthday coming up, I saw a small cat scratching post in the store, and I thought that it would be an excellent birthday gift for her, as she needed a new one anyways. When I gifted her the scratching post, she seemed pleased with it and was able to throw out the broken cat tree, but today, 6 years later, she said that the gift was actually not a birthday gift, but for the cats instead. So am I the jerk for thinking that the scratching post was a thoughtful gift? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a few issues with this. First of all, as a general rule of thumb, if a gift is for a child or a cat, it is not a gift for the parent or owner. Like, if you're giving someone's because this is a repeated thing that happens. We see in stories where like someone becomes a mom and they get presents, big baby gifts for their birthday. Someone adopts a pet and all they get is like toys for their cats for their birthday. It's not a gift for that person if it's intended to be given to someone else.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, like, he knew her for 10 years before they started dating, and he still didn't have any idea what to get her. And then the cat tower was broken, but the scratching post was still functional.
Yeah.
And instead of replacing the whole tower, he just got a new scratching post to replace the functional scratching post.
Yeah, I mean, the big problem I have here is that it was like a 10-year friendship beforehand. And if you don't know your friends at all in 10 years...
It just seems like he can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if I were to ask you to get me a present and not, like, tell you what to get it, I'm pretty sure I would like it because you put thought, you know me, and you would put thought into it. Like,
Yeah.
you have a pretty good idea of what I like.
Well, and I mean, like, how hard is it just to think about a hobby that somebody has, right?
Well, exactly.
Or something like that. And even if you swing and miss, at least, like, if it's in their area of interest, it's not going to be something that they're like, oh, I don't know why you got me, a book on economics here, right? And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, certainly, like, you have to know your audience, and it kind of shows me that he doesn't really take as much of an interest in her as he potentially should.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I mean, there are some people who are really hard to gift for, but if he has having trouble gifting to everyone, that seems like a him problem.
Yeah. So I think that this is just not a great gift, and hopefully now he can think about this and actually get something for the partner, right? But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, exactly, Amber, gift to the recipient, and maybe this is dumpster shopping.
Yeah, it might be dumpster shopping. It really might be. Maybe it's time for OP to do some little dumpster diving in the dating pool. Maybe she'll come out with a diamond in the rough. I don't know. Why the dumpster? Who knows? Speaking of the dumpster, am I a jerk for giving bad Christmas gifts and ruining my marriage? This actually kind of works. Throwaway account for anonymity. I'm a 31-year-old female, and I married my soon-to-be ex-husband, a 33-year-old male, in 2018. My in-laws never liked me and made it clear. Soon-to-be ex insisted that they're just putting up a tough exterior and that they'll grow to love me. To show how evil they are, one time I joined them for dinner and brought a cake that I had made, because I was always raised to be a gracious guest. When I stepped into the kitchen and I offered the cake to his mother as a thank you for inviting me, she took the plate over to the garbage bin and dumped it in, and handed me the plate back. When I told my husband what she did, he confronted her, and all of a sudden the crocodile tears started, and she claimed that she grabbed the plate but didn't get a good grip. And I let it go too quickly, and it fell to the floor. So of course it had to be thrown away. My sister-in-law confirmed that this had happened. My soon-to-be ex owned his own business, and they called me a gold digger behind his back. Of course they insisted on a prenup, which I didn't care about because I never thought that my marriage would end, and it would appease them and may allow them to finally treat me kindly. Nope, his business failed once COVID hit. We went through his savings and then mine, trying to keep us afloat, or trying to keep it afloat. I refused to go into debt any longer, so he closed it down. In 2022, he was suffering from a really bad depression because he lost his business and couldn't find new work. He suggested that we move to his hometown, closer to his family, so that he has a larger support network. Against my best judgment, we did. He wanted only to work part-time while he tried to restart his business, so I became the main breadwinner. And, as with most wives, I became the person in charge of buying gifts. Stupid old me thought that buying them thoughtful, expensive gifts would finally make them see that I wanted to be accepted by them. Gifts that were supposed to be couples gifts, but clearly for my soon-to-be ex only. So the gifts to us were couples gifts, but they were clearly to my soon-to-be ex only. Every holiday was spent with him, monthly dinners with the whole family. After a year, I realized that if I ever tried to talk or join a conversation, everyone would go quiet, so I just stopped talking when I was visiting. In early December, they finally finalized plans for Christmas, and a few days later, my soon-to-be ex and his family decided that they didn't want me to join them for Christmas dinner and Christmas lunch because I ruined the family vibe. I replied, "Fine, we'll do our own thing instead." My soon-to-be ex sheepishly looked away and said that he was still going to go. I was livid and so disappointed in him. That was the moment that I knew my marriage was over. So, I returned the presents that I had bought for his family. In their place, I got one pair of lovely novelty business socks for father-in-law, a supermarket brand bottle of shampoo for the mother-in-law, the nastiest perfume that I could find at a dollar store for sister-in-law, and the most expensive gift was a large rawhide bone for brother-in-law and his wife's chihuahua, too big for it to get its jaw around, rendering it useless. I saved about $600 to put on deposit for a new apartment. My husband comes home from Christmas lunch telling me that I humiliated him and embarrassed him in front of his family. I asked him why he would think that I would buy nice gifts from people who clearly didn't like me and don't want me around. I served divorce papers last week. Remember how he was supposed to be a millionaire by now, so we had that prenup thing? Soon-to-be ex is not eligible for any of my savings. It was required to keep separate bank accounts or alimony. He doesn't have the money to rent and auto insurance, so it's not my problem anymore. Some of my friends and family are on my side and proud that I went out in a blaze of glory. Others are telling me that I was being way too petty, which isn't really like me. So am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, with the way these people treated OP for so long, why would she spend her money on nice gifts for them?
Yeah.
You know, the audacity of these people. And OP's soon-to-be ex not standing up for her. Like, he could clearly see no one was talking to her in conversations and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, she brought up her complaints, but they all like just dismissed it. And he was willing to go along with it. Like, oh, they don't want you at dinner, but I'm going anyway. Like, he should have had her back in that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that OP did anything that was petty here. Well, okay, no, never mind. I think what OP did was petty.
But well-deserved.
But well-deserved, right? And I don't think that being petty is wrong all the time, right? Like, these people were pretty mean to her all in all, right? And why would she get them nice gifts, right? And when I say petty, it was clear that there was like some level of spite in what she did, like with the dog's bone that was a little too big, right? Like
Right, but
that's a little spiteful, right? But I don't think that they were
I
wrong in this,
well, I
right?
don't think it was wrong. I think it was hilarious. I like the gifts that OP went with.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they were very like thoughtful, but it was like weaponized thoughtfulness, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that OP's in the wrong, and I hope that they can find a better relationship than with their
Yeah.
soon-to-be ex.
Yeah, I hope so too, because he does not seem like a winner at
No,
all.
no, he doesn't. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, I love the oversized dog bone, LOL, and how can you
Mhm.
be petty for watching out for yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, the oversized dog bone was like the cherry on top here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, and I guess Mary also says, treat yourself to a nicer family, which I mean, I totally agree. OP definitely needs to treat themselves to a nicer family. But speaking of treating yourself to a nicer family, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Making My Husband Leave Work to Return My Keys? I feel so awful about this, but my husband has a habit of forgetting/ignoring things that I say. I work from home and am always there to unlock the front door for my husband when he gets back from work. So a couple of times that I needed the car, I get very annoyed that he's taken the house keys attached to the keys of the car with him. This happened a few times. He'll lock all of the house doors in the morning and go off to work with the keys so I can neither leave the house nor drive anywheres. So I made sure to have 2 sets of keys, and the second pair must always be on the console table for emergencies. The problem is that my husband started keeping the emergency keys in his work bag, and if he took the car anywhere, then I was locked in the house again. So this recently happened again with my family that was coming over, and they stood at a locked door while I searched the house for his work bag. Today, I woke up very unwell and I wanted to run to the chemist before a meeting and pick up a book that I had on hold at the library, when once again my husband has taken the car keys. What made me so angry was that I've told him a million times that I could have had a massive emergency, and he was so calm and apologetic on the phone, and then just that made me angrier. I'm sick of him never listening to me. So I lost it and demanded that he come home immediately and drop the keys back off because I needed to go to the chemist. He started apologizing and saying that he has a meeting at work that's about to start. But I told him that this is not a discussion and I expect him back home right now because I'm sick of repeating myself. He said that he's on his way back, but I feel so awful for stressing him out while he's at work and making him take a 40-minute journey back. But I'm also so desperate that I need to be heard for the first time. Exactly how I listen and respect his wishes. I think I misread that sentence. But I'm also so desperate to be heard for the first time. Exactly how I listen and respect his wishes. Oh, I see what they're saying now. Am I the jerk here? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk, but I think this is a little more insidious than what OP is saying, OP thinks. Now, because the emergency keys, why does he always have to control them?
Yeah.
Why do those have to go in his work bag? Like, I understand potentially if the house keys and car keys are on the same key ring, why he might take the house keys. But then they got a duplicate set of keys for the purpose of having in the house, and he started sticking them in his work bag. OP had a place for them. It wasn't his work bag. It almost seems like he doesn't want OP to be able to leave the house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first order of business is get another set of the keys that you have access to and he does not. But also, I would reevaluate this relationship. Look, see if there are other areas in it where he is controlling and tries to stop you from doing things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I'm a little concerned about here is that this does sound a bit controlling here. It does sound like he may very well try to basically control OP, and that's really not a great place to be at. And I really do hope that this is just a matter of him being like absent-minded or something like that. But I'm concerned that it is, insidious here, right? Because it does feel an awful lot like he's trying to keep her at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason why OP is upset with this is because she can't leave home.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly the one way for her to leave home is taken away.
Right, like they get these keys so that it wouldn't be an issue anymore, and it's still an issue.
Mm-hmm. And why does he need those keys?
Mm-hmm.
Because OP is at home all the time.
Right, exactly. Like, there's no reason for him to be putting it in his work bag.
Yeah, because like if OP is at home, then they can unlock the door for him. If OP takes the emergency keys, then
He has the regular keys on him.
yeah,
Like,
and even if he loses them, then OP can come home and let him in, right? So it just doesn't make any sense unless they were both to lose their keys at the exact same time. So, I mean, sure, I agree with you that maybe making a third set of keys, and if he takes those, then I think OP has their answer about, like, why he's doing this. But what do the comments have to say?
so Mary says, I would start sleeping with the keys entwined in my fingers. On the nose, Amber, this is controlling.
It does feel that way. It does feel that way. Speaking of controlling, maybe not controlling, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Calling Out My Uncle in Front of Everyone After Making Weird Comments on My Girlfriend's Look and Being Too Touchy? So basically at a family barbecue last week, my uncle, mid-50s, kept making creepy comments about my girlfriend, Kate, a 21-year-old female, who I invited. At first, it was backhanded compliments like, wow, you're way too pretty for him. But then it got worse. I would have snatched you up back in the day, and must be a struggle to compromise for me. He even joked about how my girlfriend must get hit on all the time, and how I should keep my eye on her. Well, to top that off, he was being way too touchy, putting his hand on her lower back, touching her arm when he laughed, and even leaning in way too close while talking to her. My girlfriend was clearly uncomfortable, but tried to brush it off. She told me privately that it made her really uncomfortable. I confronted him in front of everyone and straight up called him a creep and told him to knock it off loudly. He got defensive, saying that he was just joking and that my mom told me that I was way out of line for embarrassing him like that. Well, some family members agreed with me, but others think that I overreacted and that I should have handled it privately, since everyone knows him as a joker and just loves making conversation, which he's good at. Some male cousins of mine are insinuating that I was jealous and exaggerating stuff because my uncle talked to their parents too, and they didn't have any complaints like Kate. My uncle said that he was just making jokes and he didn't mean any of them. And he's really disappointed that I looked at him like he was that kind of guy. Anyways, am I the jerk for calling him out publicly instead of pulling him aside? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. He was saying these things in public, you know, being a creep. I mean, not that creeps have to be called out in private if they say things privately. I think public shaming creeps is perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the audacity of this man to be like, touching her in public and saying all these creepy things, like, he is very openly doing this. He deserved to be called on it. You know, Opie's girlfriend was uncomfortable, and he needed to not do these things and not make her uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, this was jokes disguised. It was the whole creepiness disguised as jokes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can't you just take a joke type of behavior where people can get away with bad behavior because they claim that it's a joke, right? And, you know, that's unfortunate because really it just hurts people in the end, right?
Right. Well, and again, what's the punchline of these?
Yeah, there wasn't any kind of punchline. And I mean, that's exactly it, is that the punchline was that he got to touch her.
Yeah, like, it's just an excuse for him to drool all over her and basically insinuate that if you were back in my day, you would have been mine.
Yeah. So it's a poor taste of him. He should have known better because these really aren't jokes. And yeah, being mean to your nephew is not so great, I would think, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, you should only be able to use the phrase, I was just joking once a week.
That would solve a lot of these Reddit posts. We would probably never see them again, right?
Reddit's going out of business.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of bad behavior, I don't know if this goes under bad behavior. It really isn't. Well, welcome, Marcia. We are happy that you're here with us. We're about to start in our next story. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Vandalizing My Neighbor's Dog's Winter Coat? So I want to also clarify ahead of time that this is not the dog's fur.
It's an actual, like, jacket coat for the dog.
It's an actual jacket. Hey Reddit, I thought I would get your opinion on this dispute that I've had with my neighbor over the last 3 months. My neighbor, an 87-year-old female, and I, a 28-year-old male, live in a rural area and access our driveways through a wooded back road shared with two other houses. We live up north, and in the mornings, it can stay dark until almost 8 a.m. My neighbor is older, nearly blind, and very stubborn. She has a support dog, a 4-year-old male, that helps her see, although he's not registered by any means. He is a friendly black lab, and she dresses him in a dog coat for warmth for as long as I can remember. The problem is that she lets him out in the morning to defecate and has his freedom to roam around the shared yard and shared road. Well, being a black dog wearing a dark black coat, he is almost impossible to see in the winter months. Between my neighbors and I, we have nearly hit this dog over 8 times in the past 2 months. We have talked to the neighbor about getting him a new coat or fixing bells to his collar or something like that, but she is attached to his coat for some reason and refuses to go with bells as they are too noisy and would be difficult for her to remove in her condition. Eventually, I took matters into my own hands after nearly smoking this poor pup when backing into a shared road in my truck. I took the coat off the dog and I doused it in a reflective spray paint, and now he sticks out like a sore thumb in the woods now. And my neighbors agreed that it's very much easier to see the dog. Well, my neighbor has no idea for a few months until her stepnephew visited her to help with some plumbing issues and commented on the coat. She asked me about it and I owned up, and now she is furious, talking about vandalism and lawsuits. I admit that I could have got a separate reflective coat for him or used reflective tape or something, but I really think that I helped more than I hurt the situation. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Oh, and there's more information here. Do you want to share some of the information, Amber?
Yeah, sure. Um,
Well, like the fact that she drives and
yeah.
is blind almost.
Yeah, I can share that one but can you pull up the cat comment?
Oh, you wanted me to actually read the
Just
comments
the
on this
cat
one.
one. But yeah, so even though she's practically blind, she does drive herself. She uses the dog to help her get into and out of her car, which is a little concerning. And so Opie and other neighbors have been trying to like drive her around so she'll stop driving, but she refuses to stop driving.
Yeah. So I'll read these comments because I think there's some good ones in here. So Tasty Association 353 says, "Not the jerk, you saved that dog's life. She's an irresponsible owner for letting it get into danger repeatedly." And then Opie replies, "She had a cat a few years back that was outside most of the time. Some of us worried that it could get back in, and the thing is, some of us worried if it could even get back into the house. The thing was bad though, and my other neighbor caught it on a trail cam fighting off a coyote, and I saw her walking around with what I believe was a full-grown muskrat that she had caught. Well, we asked our neighbor about it after a few years, and get this, she had literally no idea what we were talking about. I think she truly forgot that she even had a cat, despite introducing her to the neighbors when she first got it. Eventually, another neighbor picked her up and rejoined her with a friend. Oh, and joined her with a friend. And now she's an outdoor cat, but comes into their place every night to sleep. So, yeah, like, on top of like the driving issue where she drives around still with her compromised vision, she, is also negligent of other animals here. I would have to say that I don't think that OP's in the wrong for spray painting this jacket.
Yeah, like granted there are other options that OP could have taken, but it also seems like those might have taken time, like ordering a new coat and whatnot. So I can't fault OP for wanting to make sure the dog was visible enough not to be hit on the road,
Yeah.
And again, this is one of those things where it had happened so many times. It was a matter of time, and sometimes, waiting for a reflective coat or reflective tape to come in when he didn't already have those on hand could have been a little too long.
Well, and then also what happens if people get used to seeing the reflective tape and then it comes off of the dog?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And again, like I think that this is one of those situations where she really, she has no business not allowing OP to spray paint that coat with some kind of reflective material, right? She's being a negligent pet owner, and I think that this is one of the rare cases where modifying someone's property is the right course of action because, yeah, it's a jacket, and maybe OP shouldn't have, and this would have been vandalism, but they saved the dog's life, right? And I think altering a jacket in a way that she wasn't even able to notice,
Right, her stepnephew had to point it out to her.
then isn't really that big of a deal. Not a big deal at all, at least not in my book. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, not the jerk, better an ill-dressed pup than a dead dog. Starriness says, I have a service dog and I have had pet dogs. I can't imagine doing anything that would put my pet at risk, but even more since she is a service dog, my life couldn't be what it is without her.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like OP is doing her more favors than not by actually, like, taking care of the dog and making sure it doesn't get hurt. And there are some other things that OP does. Like, he invites her over to barbecues. They try and get her groceries. They, help bring her to medical appointments sometimes, too. It's one of these things where it feels like the neighbors really want to do what's best for her, but she's apparently very stubborn.
She's very stubborn, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bad situation, but it seems like they're all really good neighbors. And given her memory, I wouldn't worry if I were OP. I think that she'll probably forget this in like a few weeks at worst. Like if she can't remember that she even has a pet cat, is she going to remember that OP spray painted this jacket that she can't even really like recognize? So I don't think that OP has too much to worry about. I think that they can make it up and be nice to her and, continue to be a good neighbor, and this will all blow over in no time.
And we got some more comments. So Cat's Tiny is here now.
Oh, yes. Welcome, Starriness, and welcome, Cat's Tiny. I forgot to welcome you all.
And then Marcia says, I think they should ask the police to do a wellness check, driving while blind, not making good decisions.
Well, it really isn't a good decision, and I mean I agree with you completely there. I mean it's very poor. I really do think that she's going to end up getting herself killed or someone else, and that's not good. Like it's just not a very good situation. She seems a bit reckless at this point in time. And I'm glad that OP is her neighbor instead of someone else, because there could be other meaner, pettier people who'd be like, I'm just going to hit your dog anyways, right? And like...
Well, I can't imagine how someone could do that. But...
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it either, but I mean, I've read a lot of Reddit stories.
I mean, that's true. Every time you think it can't be worse.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and hi, Gabriel. Welcome. Welcome. And our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Gendering My Water Bottle and Other Items? I have a cute frog water bottle that's made of rubber and can extend to hold more space. I think that it's funny and cute, and I named him Longboy. And I do call him a he. Gendering items like my stuffed animals is not a new thing to me. Maybe it's an autism thing, I don't know. I named him Longboy because it's funny. Boy is a common meme that makes my millennial humor laugh. So I went out to hang out with my friend, and we'll call her Natalie, a 19-year-old female, and I brought Longboy full of water. Well, I referred to him as Longboy, and at some point she asked me if I really gendered my water bottle. I laughed and I said yeah, and she said that she was really disappointed and she thought better of me, and since I was in the queer community. I'm asexual and she's trans. I said that it wasn't a big deal, it was just a fun, dumb name that I refer to my water bottle as, and a lot of my stuffed animals are gendered as well. But she got really mad at me, I think because now she won't talk to me and she wants an apology. And yes, this is real. I don't know, I'm at a loss for words because this feels something weird to get angry about, but I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something and maybe I'm the jerk. I genuinely don't know anymore. This is a quirk that I've always had. All right, folks, what do you think about this one?
I mean, I may be biased here because I gender my stuff also. I don't know if it's an autism thing or not, but I'm also autistic. But I don't see any problem with this. Like, it might be one thing if OP was enforcing rigid gender roles upon their stuff, like, oh, Longboy has to be all macho or something like that. But I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with gendering things.
Well, I think it's pretty common human nature to anthropomorphize that word. You know what word I'm saying. You know what word I'm saying. to, anthropomorphize objects that we own,
Hmm.
right?
Well, and I just don't like referring to things as like it or, like my phone. My phone's name is Willow. She uses she, her pronouns.
Yeah.
It makes it, kind of it's a more friendly human thing than just like this is a random brick and
Well, yeah, and I mean, I kind of want to actually point out that like they've done things where like if you give like glue sticks names, for
mhm.
instance, to in little kindergarten classes, that they'll actually end up returning all of the glue sticks and stuff like that. So because people will be like, "Well, where's Frank?" for instance,
Yeah, like
right?
if the teacher's like, "Oh, we're missing a glue stick," the kids don't care. But if the teacher's like, "What happened to Frank?" Everyone's gonna be like looking for Frank. They want to make sure Frank gets returned.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that again, it's just kind of human nature to give objects like names and to give them characteristics. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I think that this friend is overreacting here, and I don't think that it's really that big of a deal. But what do the comments have to say?
So Gabriel says, "Not the jerk. Tell your friend to go outside more often." Mary says the water bottle identifies as male and should be honored. And Sorriness says autistic too, and I gendered things, but not always. Their real gender. My kid's female cat is a good boy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people like refer to animals like that too, right? Sometimes. All right, folks, but our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for not letting my husband's girlfriend come to the wedding?" All right, folks, hanging on to your seats because this one's a bit of a wild one. I know we had like a couple of downward sloping ones, but this one's
We're
not
ramping things back
we're
up.
ramping back up here. My fiance, Jack, a 30-year-old male, and I got married last month after being together for 4 years. Everything about our relationship has been great, except for one thing: his best friend, Lisa, a 29-year-old female. Lisa and Jack have known each other since college. They have always been close, but their friendship has made me uncomfortable at times. She calls him late at night, and they have inside jokes that exclude me, and she was visibly upset when they got engaged. I've never told Jack to cut her off, but I've set boundaries, like asking him not to spend one-on-one time with her outside of group settings. When we were planning our wedding, we had a strict guest list due to budget and venue capacity. We invited only close friends and family. Lisa was not on the list. I didn't invite her because, frankly, I didn't want her there. I knew that she would be happy for us, or wouldn't be happy for us, and I didn't want any drama on our big day. Jack noticed that she wasn't on the list and asked me about it, and I told him honestly that I didn't feel comfortable with having her there. He argued that she was one of his oldest friends and that it would be hurtful to exclude her. I stood my ground, saying that our wedding should be a day filled with love and support, not tension. He let it go, or so I thought. A week before the wedding, I found out through a mutual friend that Lisa was expecting an invitation and had even bought a dress. Jack had secretly invited her behind my back. When I confronted him, he admitted it, saying that he thought that I would change my mind and that he didn't want to hurt her feelings. I was furious. I told him that I didn't care if she had a dress, she was not coming. I called her myself and I told her that she was not invited. She was cold and said that she understood. But later, I happened to see Lisa's DMs with Jack and about how he would have loved to see her at the wedding. Since then, things have been tense. He thinks that I was unreasonable, while I feel like he prioritized her feelings over mine. Am I the jerk for not letting her come? Also to note, Lisa has dated Jack before. That's one of the reasons why I was uncomfortable with having her texting and calling them. All right, folks, what do you think?
Why on earth did you marry him, OP? Like, there is an issue here, and I think kind of everyone's behaving badly. Like, if you're having a wedding, you both should be able to come to consensus over the guest list.
Oh, yeah.
And if you are having major guest list drama and inviting and uninviting people behind each other's backs, that's a sign you should not be getting married. If you cannot have these communicate these things openly and honestly, you need to work on your communication before you tie the knot.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly it. Like, the fact is that it feels like she's in love with OP's husband,
Yes.
right? Because she seemed hurt and disappointed when he proposed. Um, I have a feeling that she was maybe even planning something at the wedding. Who knows?
Right.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this is not a healthy way of handling conflict in a relationship. You
Yeah.
can't just go behind people's backs. It's already starting the relationship off or the marriage off on the wrong foot,
Right.
right?
And I get OP's upset here because it definitely seems like he's veering toward an emotional affair with her, if not in an active one, like with the
Yeah.
amount of time, like the texting and calling at all hours type of situation.
Oh, yeah.
So I can get why OP wouldn't want her there, but she should look at like he did indeed prioritize Lisa in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And why would you want to marry someone who is actively, essentially having an emotional affair with another person?
Well, I mean, that's it too, right? I mean, this is really bordering on an emotional affair, if not an emotional affair. I really feel that OP made a bad decision by actually going through with this marriage. They really should have gone into counseling first before anything. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, Jake is not going to be a good fit for OP. He won't have a marriage without Lisa playing some part. Keep looking and let the ex marry Lisa.
Yeah.
And Gabriel says, I agree with Amber. I don't think they should get married if he's putting a friend over his fiance's feelings. I wouldn't want someone there, an ex who doesn't want us to be being married. Wild.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty wild. I just feel bad for OP here. I thought they were married here, but I mean, I guess the language is kind of ambiguous enough that they might not actually be married.
No, it sounds like they did get married.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then Marsha also says Lisa needs to back off and leave this couple alone for a while. I don't think that's happening, Marsha. I think that she is quite content for being in the third wheel in this relationship. Speaking of being the third wheel in your own relationship, I don't know if this really works here, but we're gonna make it work. We're putting a round peg into a square hole. Am I the jerk for not wanting to drive my husband to the ER? My husband, a 26-year-old male, spiked a fever of 104 at around 2:30 last night. He told me, a 24-year-old female, that he wanted to go to the ER. I suggested that he try to take some medicine and a lukewarm shower and put an ice pack on, etc. before we go to the ER. This is the first time that he spiked a fever this high and hadn't taken any measures to bring it down. He suggested that he go by himself, and I replied, I think, are you sure? He got offended, and I didn't argue about going with him. If it were just him, then I would have totally said yes. But we have a 6-month-old baby that goes to daycare at 7 a.m., and I felt terrible waking him up to go to the hospital. My husband said that I was showing my true colors by not wanting to take him, and he's been sick for a couple of days, and I should be catering to his every need. Well, when I was sick last week and asked for help with the baby, he said, when you're a parent, you don't get to be sick. Honestly, I think that this is karma, but am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, given what he said, if I were OP, I would just been like, well, you're a parent, you don't get to be sick, because I would be petty like that, but or I would just be scream and cry or something. I don't know exactly, but yeah, I don't think that OP was in the wrong here. I mean, first of all, I'm not an expert, but from what I read in the comments, it seems like the standard procedure, if you haven't already tried to bring down a fever, is to try to bring it down. So the hospital, the ER probably would have just given him Tylenol and been take this and come back if that doesn't fix it.
Yeah, they said 103, which 103 is not it is like a concerning fever, but it isn't necessarily an emergency room fever as far as I'm aware. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor, so don't hold me to that. But I do think taking medicine of some kind would have been a good idea before trying to go to the hospital. Because I mean, I've had a fever of 103 before, and I mean, I didn't go to the ER for it. But I mean, I did take fever reducers at that point.
Right. Yeah, and kind of the fever reducers are the first line of defense, because most of the time when your body is just ramping up so it can fight, and it gets a little too hot, and so if you can bring that temp back down, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I did call the non-emergency line to find out if, this was to be a concern or something like that. And basically what they said is take fever reducers and blah, 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 right? I mean, I was kind of, like I said, on the husband's side a smidge until OP's last sentence here, where when you're a parent, you don't get to be sick. at that point in time, like, all bets are off for me. It's like, well, how could you have not seen this coming, right?
Right. Well, it doesn't sound like a partnership at this point in
No,
time. Like,
no.
if OP wants out because he's being garbage, like, who could say to your sick partner, like, oh, well, I'm not going to help with this baby we both created because you're a parent? Like, it sounds like OP is doing the vast majority of childcare, and he's not even helping her out when she's sick. So I
Yeah.
understand not wanting to take him to the emergency room at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel her resentment towards the situation, and you really shouldn't let resentment drive your decisions in a relationship, right?
Right.
But when she feels like it's not a fair partnership, when she
Mm-hmm.
has to do work when she's even sick, I can understand her kind of like pushing back against this and saying, take some fever reducers first, and then we'll go from there, right? But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, "Oh, I love how this one turned out. Not the jerk to OP and YIYF to hubby." Cat's Tiny says, "Till death do us part." Indeed. Yikes. Why on earth wouldn't he take the medicine? Gabriel says, "No, as a man, I think he's a big baby. I have a serious illness and I wouldn't expect my wife to take me. I'm not married, hypothetically, with our baby over a fever, even with more serious stuff. I've gone alone. They both sound so childish."
Yeah, I mean, when I actually did end up going to the emergency room at one point in time on my own, it was not like I dragged Amber there to the emergency room, right? And I mean, I think like at a certain point, like you kind of have to, if you have a kid, the kid's kind of going to take the top priority, right? If you don't feel like you can safely make it to the emergency room, then that's what ambulances are for, right? And maybe that's not so great if you don't have good insurance or you're afraid that it's not going to like be fully covered, but there are other options, right?
Yeah, well, I also can't drive, so like I wouldn't have been much help. I would have just been like panicking while Brian drove himself,
Yeah,
backseat panicking.
backseat panicking. Oh, I like this one. I mean, I think this one's a nice, almost kind of not palate cleanser at all, but our next letter is titled, "Am I the jerk for humiliating my friend after he kept bragging about his IQ?" So I have a friend, we'll call him Brian, who won't shut up about his IQ ever since he took some online test that he said he got 131 on. He's been acting like he's the second coming of Einstein. At first, it was just kind of annoying. He would drop random fun facts about how high IQ people process information differently. He started using words like erudite and obfuscate in normal conversations.
Erudite and obfuscate, I
Yes,
think.
thank you, thank you. Those are the ways to pronounce them, but I'm bad at pronouncing things, especially on the fly. But then it got worse. He started low-key insulting us. He told our friend Emily, who is in med school, that doctors are just good at memorization, not real intelligence. He told me that I was wasting potential because I work in marketing instead of something more intellectually rigorous. Dude works in IT at a help desk. Anyways, last week we were at a party and he started talking about IQ again. Someone jokingly asked, "If you're so smart, why aren't you rich?" And Brian, completely seriously, goes, "Well, intelligence isn't always about wealth. It's about how you process the world. Low IQ people can never truly grasp how limiting their perception is." So I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "Well, that's ridiculous. What is it like having a high IQ and still losing at fantasy football every year?" The room exploded, Brian turned red, mumbled something about variance and sample sizes, and then left the party early. Now he is barely texting in the group chat, and mutual friends told me that I embarrassed him too much. And now, naturally, half of the group has been testing their IQs just to mess with him. Someone dropped this 10-minute cerebrum IQ test in the chat, and it's become a full-blown competition. Wow, if I could just read a couple of words here. If Brian was really a genius, you would have thought that he would take it again to prove us all wrong, but nah, suddenly he's not a fan of online tests anymore. Am I the jerk for finally saying something, or did he have it coming? All right, folks, what do you think of this one? What do you think of Brian?
I mean, yeah, I think that Brian was being pretentious and a jerk. I mean, IQ is not a very good measure of people, in so many ways. Like, even there's so many different types of intelligence to begin with, and IQ tests are not even adept at measuring all
Yeah,
those
yeah,
different ways.
exactly.
Like, and standardized tests in general, like not everyone's good at test taking, and not everyone's brain works in like a short time format. Anything that you have to do in a certain amount of time, like it's such a one tiny facet. But
Yeah.
also, online IQ tests are notoriously unreliable,
Well, yeah.
and so I think that Brian did need to be like told, like, hey, this is enough, cut it out, something to stop him from keep doing this.
Yeah, well, the thing is this, right? IQ tests were originally invented to help assess learning disabilities so that kids could get more help, right? So they were never meant as a one size fit all number for telling how smart someone was,
Right,
right?
and that's still like the primary function of them. Like when I did my autism assessment, I could have had an IQ test if I wanted to. That's usually part of the assessment, but they're like, we don't think you need one, because I didn't have any signs of learning disability that they needed to diagnose. So it wasn't like, oh, we're going to give you a test just to see how smart you are. It's just like, this is a test to see if you have a learning disability. Since you don't have one, we don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I mean, intelligence is pretty fluid in a lot of ways. There are sometimes people can be very smart in one area, and then they can be not so smart in other areas. And that's not to say, it's just to say that people are different, right? And you should never measure yourself by just a single number because it's at the end of the day, it's kind of pointless and meaningless, right?
Well, it is, and also, like, what if you just get the wrong set of questions? Like,
Yeah.
everyone has different skills, and I feel like you take an IQ test on any given day, and like depending on the questions, it could vary by a few points.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Cat's Tiny says, "Oh, Brian, you silly man, time to go back to the books. Don't make a number your whole identity."
Exactly, right?
Gabriel says, "If he has such a high IQ, I'm sure he'll find a way to build a bridge and get over it." Mary says, "I don't think the comment about fantasy football was snarky per se." And Marcia says, "Whoa, what a snobby guy. Tell him to stop bragging as it shows a lack of common sense."
Yeah, I mean, it's really not great. I mean, you really alienate yourself a lot by trying to shove your intelligence into people's faces like this, and it's not great, right?
Right, like there's nothing wrong with being smart and
Oh, yeah.
wanting to have intellectual conversations or anything like that. But it just feels like he's doing this to be pretentious. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with using big words, but like when you're doing it specifically to rub it in everyone's face about how smart you are, that's a different thing.
Yeah. Well, let's see. It's 55 past now, so
I guess it's tea time.
it might be tea time. Maybe we'll do tea time and then we'll do one or maybe two stories. We'll see. We'll see. But folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. Let's see what the results of the poll are here. I've got some tea right here. Amber, she has a joke, but she doesn't really
I will grab the joke,
because
yes.
she apparently left it. Sorry if you hear some beeping in the background. It's not a bomb, I promise. And and YouTube just got very angry at me. So everyone's favorite Valentine's gift is other.
All right, what are people's actual favorites?
Yeah, let me know what your actual favorites are.
I said earlier that my favorites, I think most people weren't on here yet, but I like creepy, cute things. Like, there's some cryptid Valentines I've seen with Mothman that look super cute. What do you say about a plant with weird-looking roots?
Weird-looking roots. I guess you say that they are twisted.
Water those.
Oh, water those? Yes. I guess so. That was one of the book ones because it's not...
I didn't account for the live streams when I was making my book, so I don't have an extra one. Maybe I'll have to do that for next month.
Yes. So we got some rose tea. Mary's guessing that I have mega mint. And we don't have any others yet. So I guess like stuffed toys, you love creepy cute ones. Yeah, I mean creepy cute stuffed toys.
I got a Mothman plushie for Christmas from Brian, and it's the cutest thing. I don't have it with me right now, but I love Mothman. They're so cute.
Yes, Amber was very excited about her Mothman plushie.
I was. Well, it was the Build-A-Bear, their limited release one, and they sold out over the summer. And then, like, when I saw that was a thing, I was like, I need this.
Yeah, she was. She was very much needing that stuffed animal. And Gabrielle, she thinks that we have Earl Grey, and you like flowers. Uh, and you can put them
Flowers you can put
outside.
outside. Yes. Like I like flowers, but I get sad when they die. So in like bouquets are not necessarily the best thing for me, but unless they're fake. But yeah, outdoor flowers makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I have Earl Grey. Sorry, Mary. Better luck next time. Nice guess, Gabriel. Let's go on over to our next story. Let's see. This one we're going to end on, and I mean, I guess this one is kind of decently uh, long. Let's see. And let me make sure. Yeah, okay, we'll do this one. And our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Beating My 25-year-old male's girlfriend's, a 24-year-old female's dad, a 51-year-old male, and a hot dog eating contest? Throwaway for anonymity. Okay, so the hot dog eating contest happened like 6 months ago during the summer, and I had no idea that I did anything wrong, but my girlfriend and I were arguing about something else, and she brought up the contest and said that I had acted childishly, and that I wanted to know if there was anything wrong that I had to apologize for. So basically 6 months ago, my girlfriend invited me to a food festival in her hometown. The day arrived, and I learned that there was a hot dog eating contest, and the prize would be a $100 gift card to a large tech retail store. Being a casual competitive eater in college, I decided that it would be fun to enter, and I signed up on the website. When I told my girlfriend's family that I had entered the contest, my girlfriend's dad good-naturedly clapped me on the back and said, "Let the best man win." Apparently, my girlfriend's dad had won the hot dog eating contest for the last 4 years and was expecting to win again. Wanting the gift card, I decided to give the contest my all. I ate a bunch of hot dogs. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing, but by the time that I was done, I had eaten 16 hot dogs in 5 minutes, beating my girlfriend's dad, who only ate 12. Well, when I was done, my girlfriend's brother Liam, a 14-year-old male, and a bunch of his friends mobbed me and called me the doggler, giving me high fives and clapping me on the back. They said that I had dethroned the doggler and pointed to my girlfriend's dad, and that I was the new doggler, and that I was the real jizzled rizzle, or something along those lines, and that I was just shoving grizzly after grizzly down my gullet. They posed for a picture with me, and it was kind of weird but fun. Later, my girlfriend's dad came up to me, shook my hand, and said that it was a good competition. He went home to do something in his workshop. So I hung out with my girlfriend, Liam, and his friends, going around to various food stalls and games. When we all ate dinner that night, the hot dog contest didn't come up at all, except for when Liam was referring to me as the doggler and saying that he wanted to make a special doggler shirt for me. We had a nice breakfast the next morning, no sign that anything was wrong. Well, today my girlfriend brought up an argument that her dad was actually really wounded by losing the hot dog eating contest, but just didn't want to say anything to me. I said that if I wasn't supposed to enter the contest, then was it really a contest at all? And she said that it was less about the contest, but about the special doggler shirt. Liam made his dad the doggler shirt for the years that he won the contest, but I got the doggler 2024 shirt. She said that her dad only wanted to win the contest to connect with Liam, and if anything, I should be able to understand the masculine ego. So Reddit, am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, it was a public contest, and also no one even communicated to OP that this was an important thing. Like, how is OP supposed to intuit this? Like, even if OP knew, like, I don't think they're obligated to just bow out because it's a public contest. But the girlfriend's like, you should just like have known my dad has a fragile ego and not beat him.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I guess they didn't expect OP probably to win because, like, if the dad won 4 years in a row, and I can understand the dad's disappointment, but it doesn't even seem like the dad took it that badly, right?
Right, he had enough sense not to like get upset at OP, you know, and so I think it's strange that the girlfriend's bringing it up now.
Well, yeah, and well, the part of what I read in the comments, the reason why this is actually coming up now is because OP was doing laundry and the Dogler shirt that was made for him was left in the wash and like for like a day or two, right? And so the girlfriend is upset because she feels like he doesn't even respect the Dogler title or anything like that, and doesn't do chores well around the house, I guess. So I think that some of this is like, it's not about the shirt, it's not
Right.
about the contest, it's about the other things, right?
And if they have relationship issues, they need to have conversations about the actual issues and not pass it off onto this thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, this just feels more like she's trying to blame him for this when it's really that she's upset about other things at this point in time. And I think that they really need to sit down and have a conversation about chores and the distribution of work around the house and about expectations of chores if these are really causing those kinds of issues. So it's not a great situation. It really isn't a great situation. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, it's not like OP was staring down future father-in-law as he stuffed the winning dog into his victorious mouth.
I mean, that would be a little different, right? Just like mocking him as he ate them.
And then Gabriel says, the Dogler laughy face. Cat's Tiny says, congratulations, OP, LOL, gross, but congratulations. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not a hot dog person or an eating contest person. Gabriel says, not the jerk. If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the hot dog competition, I guess. Dad should find better ways to connect with his son. And OP's not a mind reader. Mary says, daughter needs to learn that not every remark is a declaration of war. Sometimes people just want to vent. And Gabriel says, yeah, it sounds like she just wants a reason to get mad at the boyfriend, passive aggressive.
Yeah, it does sound like she was looking for a reason to fight. And sometimes people do that in relationships. Not healthily, but sometimes people do that. I mean, we could always ask the Wheel of Names, the Wheel of Judgment.
Yes, we'll see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say about this one.
Let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. You're the jerk with zero self-awareness.
I mean, I guess the wheel is the dad or the girlfriend.
It might be. It might just be. Well, on that note, I guess that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for everyone for watching. I hope that you have a great weekend ahead of you. A happy Friday and a happy Saturday and whatnot. And as you can see, our next live stream is going to be on the 28th of February. Again, like we have had 2 months in a row where it ends on the last day, right? The live stream is on the last day of the month. So, yeah, I think you're right.
The wheel did lose the hot dog contest.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty like petty response from the wheel. So
Or maybe the wheel is jealous because they can't eat hot dogs to begin with.
I know, of all the things that I could be jealous about in life, not being able to eat hot dogs would probably not rank on that list of jealousies. But you do you, wheel. Thanks to everyone for joining us. I hope that you had a fun time at the live stream here. You know, I enjoyed seeing you folks and seeing everyone here. Thanks so much to Gabriel, Mary, Marsha, Cat's Tiny, Starriness. I don't know if I'm missing anyone out of all that. Let's see. I don't think I am. I think that's everyone. So, yeah, thanks so much to everyone. 2025 is off to a good start. Well, it is. It is. Thanks for joining us, Mary. So, yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And I guess we'll see you all in the future here.
Bye.
On the 28th of February, but sooner too, with the other episodes.
Yes.
I'll type a few responses out. I don't know why I've capitalized. I say, well, I'm just going to press a return here. Thanks for joining us with a capital J. I don't know why. I just randomly capitalized the letter. Thanks for joining us too, Marsha. We appreciate your time as well. Good night, Mary. We hope you had a good time. All right, folks. Well, we'll see you all later.